Hi, Syrvivor Syracuse. My name is Annie. I'm going to be hosting this episode 11 post show. This one was a major doozy, 3 eliminations. That's insane. I played season 7. Super excited to get into the thick of this episode. We have 2 guests, which we're super excited to talk to. I'm actually shaking. But if everyone else wants to introduce themselves, it would be awesome.
Hi everyone, my name is Bridget. I played season 10. I'm gonna be joining Annie and everyone on this wonderful little Q&A sort of post-show fun.
Hi, I'm Brody. I played season 8 and then hosted seasons 10 and 11.
I'm Jack. I played season 9. Excited to be here to talk about Survivor season 6.
Okay, Ben, you wanna get us started?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Ben. I was on season 6. And it was a great time. I just got voted out. Should I say that? I did say it, so now it's out there, if you didn't know.
Okay, Phelan.
Hi guys, I'm Phelan. I played with Ben on season 6 and I just got voted out right after Ben, so yeah, excited to chat.
Okay, if nobody else has any questions, I actually am really, like, me saying I was super excited to talk to you guys wasn't just like me saying that. Like, it's super interesting because this whole season, you guys obviously, I don't know if necessarily you started off on were you guys both on Old Noir, like the original together? Yeah, so it was like you guys, your little buddies, like picking people off one by one. I actually feel kind of bad for the other players. We talk about that on the other recap shows a lot, like really empathize with them. It kind of sucks. But just like, can you guys talk a little bit about how that was, just like having such a strong alliance from the beginning? Like you guys really, there were no cracks, it feels like.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to go first, Phelan, and then I can say whatever.
Sure. Yeah, I think watching these episodes, I definitely can see what you mean, Annie. Like, I remember there was a clip where, or like maybe even a couple episodes where Johnny and Graham were just like, it's whatever they want this week, and it kind of was. And I think that while I was playing, I didn't really think of it from that perspective. But now looking back, I think I didn't appreciate how much of like a ruling authority Ben, Kata, Valentina, me, and for a while Jake kind of had, which was funny because we went into the merge like down in numbers. But yeah, it was really great up until the end, and you could see like on that last vote where Ben went home, like none of us really wanted to turn on each other. It was kind of like interesting hearing you guys be like, yeah, we have like this alliance, so it just kind of leaves Phelan to vote for, and then I just didn't think you were the one person I could beat. I thought you would win, and so yeah.
Yeah, I guess in the same vein, I think what solidified our bond really early on was going through the first couple votes, and like the first half of this game I was sort of just like figuring it out, and then with the tribe swap, that almost, like, I was closer with Valentina at the time than Phelan and I were close. Like we hadn't talked as much, more as like an alliance of just like voting people out on our own tribe. And then when that happened, and then when we came back, that sort of solidified, I think, that 4 when we had like this big talk at, I think it was Katza's house, and we just like talked for, I don't know, like 2 hours and just basically planned the rest of our game. And it honestly just benefited me, and I think the majority of us, to stick together so that like we got to the end and we got as far as we did. Because I truly think that if flopping happened, like they would have picked us out from the beginning like they tried to do. So I don't think it was more of a, I mean, yes, it turned out to be like Noir versus Esukaris, like old tribes, but that's simply just because it was like made the better tribe win at that point, because they were gunning it for us at the same time. And I think, I don't know, it just obviously not the best content wise, because it just like sort of the same thing happening, but I mean, it helped my game, and that's like all that I was thinking about. Yeah, that's what I think. It was just strong. We all liked each other, and I don't think I was going to flip. I wanted to play a loyalty game to my girls.
So I've got a I've got a question about this episode, episode 11. It obviously with Phelan's idol, she was always going to play it, Final 5, last chance to play it. And like Phelan, you just said, Ben was the only person you thought you couldn't beat, so logical to go for him. But it seemed like you sort of worked with Valentina to pull that off a little bit. Obviously, I think she threw her vote on you so that it didn't seem sus, and it wasn't like, oh, who was scheming with Phelan to make this happen. But it seemed like you both were talking about convincing people to make sure that they were all voting for you. Was there ever like, it was kind of tough to tell if that took a lot of convincing or if that was just sort of like double checking with people to make sure that the plan was hadn't changed. Like, if from a viewer's point of view, it seemed like maybe there was a little bit of work that was done like right before the vote to make sure that everyone was voting for you. And I don't know if can you elaborate on I know Valentina's not here, but on what went into that?
Yeah, I think, and obviously I'm trying to like remember back like what 2 years ago. I think my mindset was, even if one other person votes different than me, it could go to, like weird situations. And so I wanted to make sure that the easiest way of doing it would just be everyone vote for me. And at the time, I really didn't, like, looking back, hindsight's 2020, obviously Valentina, like in Kata and Ben, there were different dynamics in there. But I really didn't want Valentina to go home. So my fear was that someone would throw a stray vote on her, and it would go down to like Ben and Valentina, and that I obviously didn't want happening. So I think it wasn't necessarily me telling people to vote for me, obviously, but not trying as hard as I could have to campaign for myself.
Got it. So Ben, would you have ever thought to like throw a stray vote on someone else there? Or did you have that conversation with Kata and I guess not Zach.
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 So yeah, I think what's been hard watching this season is that a lot of I definitely sent so many vlogs in, and they must have just been like vanished in within the night. I don't know, but I think that's where I was able to like say a lot of stuff, but about my game. And yeah, Zach was right in this episode. Like, I was definitely anxious. This was the first vote that I was like, all right, I know someone could be gunning for me, because there's 3 people really you can vote for when Zach's gone and you can't vote for yourself. So I was like, I really wanted Phelan gone. Like, she wanted me gone. Like, I knew that was the only person that I think could have beaten me, because we were playing like our own games out of like the pairs we were in. I think we were playing like really good games, even though we were in like a close pair. I just knew Phelan was like someone I couldn't sit with if I wanted to win out front. Like, I remember saying like in this last episode, like, I want to sit with people that I could see myself being matched with. So like Phelan and Zach, like, ideal, and me coming out winning, that would have been like maybe something I could have thought of, but that would have been crazy. So I was like, I want to vote for Phelan. I just want to get Phelan out. And then while I was sitting at like the writing names down, I was like, I should just vote for Valentina, just because if Phelan puts one name down, and this is like, you should have done it, you could have, would have, should have type of moment, but I sat there for like, I don't know what, like 20 seconds, just being like, I really should just write Valentina, like that will help me. But then I didn't know if more people were voting for me, and I didn't know that if Phelan had an idol. So there were just so many things at play that maybe I thought Phelan would like give her idol someone else and wouldn't play for her. So I don't know. Or at one point, I think I spoke with Zach, and he said something about Phelan wanting to vote for Kata. And I don't know if that was a lie or maybe I'm just faking that, but I think that was deep down what I was hoping would happen, where she would still play her idol and then I would not get a vote for, because I hadn't had a vote for me this entire game, and it was just like a scary thought to even happen. And then like I think it was honestly the best way that it could. Like I really appreciated Phelan doing that, and like I whispered in your ear, I was like, girl, I hope you win. Like I only wanted like the person to vote me out. Like I wanted whoever voted me out to win, and I'm sorry, girl, but it is what it is. Yeah.
On that note, it's funny because you guys are talking a lot about, these are like probably the most important votes of the game, like right before final tribal. And so obviously now by the end of this episode, we know who is at final tribal. And I think it's really interesting because you guys had such a strong like core alliance that we keep talking about, except Zach managed to like scrape his way to the end, which is, I'll give him kudos for that. Like I think I don't know how he did it, but you guys do because you were there. So could you guys just talk a little bit about it? Because I think it's really hard to get from the episodes really how like why did you guys not target him? Because he obviously was at the bottom of you guys, but he was also at the bottom of like the SU Cars people. They all hated that kid. Poor Zach. I feel kind of bad, but it's true. So if you guys could just talk a little bit about that, I would love to hear your perspective on it.
Yeah, sure, I can start. I think like watching this back and seeing his vlogs is so interesting because I think we had a conversation of either me or Valentina or like our Noir 4 when we were like, this kid doesn't have any strategy to anything he's doing. Like we could not see the thoughts behind anything he did. But watching this series and watching his vlogs, I think some of his moves were pretty calculated and strategic. But I also think he made a good point where we were so, like, at that last couple votes, I was so concerned with the 2v2 dynamic. And if, in my head, I was thinking, if we end up at Final Four, I need my buddy, like Valentina, there to stick with me and alienate the other duo, which was Ben and Kata, to, in my head, provide a more logical target. It wasn't the most well thought out plan, clearly, but I think he mostly skated by being like the aloof, like odd one out that was never the biggest target or the biggest talker, but was kind of like me and Valentina said in that one vlog, we're not scared of him, we're just annoyed. So yeah, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Ben.
Yeah, I feel like from the moment we started working with him, when the merge happened, we were just like, if he works with us the first time, I don't think he's doing much else, so he will vote for us with us every single time to vote everyone else out. And it just sort of happened that way, where in hindsight, yeah, we should have probably done something differently. But in my mind, I think Johnny had it in the bag over us because the jury liked him more than Zach. So I was like, I'm willing to go to the end with Zach because I think people will favor me over him. Maybe I should have thought a little more wiser than that, but that's how I thought about it, where I think, yeah, looking back on all of his vlogs, I'm like, he definitely was playing a much better game than I was like perceiving him like as, and like props to him because he hid that really and kept that really tight, and maybe he was only telling Jake his moves, but and I talked to him for like phone calls and stuff like that, but he was always just like, what do you, like, made me tell him stuff, and like that's what I thought I was doing to other people. So it's interesting now to see him like use that and play his own game, and it's been really cool. So yeah.
I kind of want.
Oh wait, go ahead, Brody.
Thank you. I kind of want to go off that, like talking about where you guys ended up like on the jury too, because we now have the final three, and it honestly feels like it's at a little bit of a weird spot because Kata has like not been seen as a threat like the entire time. Valentina has like been seen as a threat for a while, but like in the last few episodes or in the last few votes, she had just been like making weird comments like, ugh, like I kind of don't even want to make it to the end and stuff like that. And then Zach, who like we've talked a lot about on the recap shows, he's just like kind of all over the place, like don't really know where he is. It just feels like with you guys going out at 5 and 4, lost 2 players that like probably would have won the game if they were in the final three. So just like where were your heads at right when you got out of the game? Obviously not like spoiling who you voted for, like going into the final three, which kind of feels a little like odd at this point.
I was trying to find an unmute. I can start with this one. I think it was, I knew going into the final three, I was like, I want to like tell them how it is. Like I wanted to, I sort of was like kind of giving what I thought, not villain energy, but like I sort of, people called me a liar, people called me like a manipulator. So I was gonna, yeah, tell them how it was. Like I wanted to go into that, them knowing that I saw their game for what it was. Because yeah, Phelan and I worked with Kata and Valentina like exclusively, however, or whatever. But yeah, so going into that, I wanted to tell them that, wait, sorry, what was the question? I lost track.
No, just like where was your mindset like right after getting voted out, and like
Okay.
like you said, like you were like rooting for Phelan, seeing Phelan get voted out, and kind of being left at this like.
Yeah, right after that, I think my biggest thing was like I want someone to win who sees that I had the potential to win, because I know that I played a really good game, and I think Phelan, it looked like Phelan was the only one who realized that, because she was the only one gunning for me. I would have taken the three of them more seriously if they voted for me, and that's why I wanted Phelan to win, because I was like, I want like the person, if they're gonna vote me out, because I thought I was playing a decent game, like yeah, lie and cheat and get me out. Like don't play it safe, because at that point I think that like I was making my case to the end, and I knew that Phelan was the one in front of it. So I wanted to get her up, and then that's why I wanted Phelan to win. So it was a hard place for me to sit, knowing that the person I wanted to win wasn't there. And then I just had to sort of figure out how whoever I saw was the best person, and I stand by my decision. I don't know. Like I think I'm proud of, yeah, that.
Yeah, I think like I'll keep mine a little like brief, because I honestly I got voted out, and then just immediately we went right into, not like right into, but the next meeting was tribal or the finale, and I think I went in pretty open-minded, but I will say like the person that I thought played the strongest game, that I think if me and Ben's positions were reversed, I would have voted for Ben. Like I said, I thought he was my strongest competitor sitting there at Final Five, and you know, no spoilers, everyone gave you know, compelling or not so compelling speeches at the end, and I went in with a pretty open mind, because not that any of them didn't play good games, they all played great games to be sitting where they were in the final three, but it wasn't necessarily the most obvious ones, where we talked about Johnny being like a shoe-in if he was sitting at final tribal or something like that. So their speeches are interesting. Get ready for the finale.
It seemed interesting because oftentimes on these juries, especially for College Survivor, there's always some sort of like beef element with the people in the final tribal and the jury. Like someone's got like beef with, normally it's more than one person, but at least one person. And then on top of that, there's oftentimes like, you know, a big like jury manager, and that's like their strong suit. And I'm not saying that's entirely untrue, but it seemed like Johnny would have been that person, and he went home at 6. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but it didn't seem like there was really like major beef between anyone on the jury and anyone on any of the finalists and like a good cohort of the jury. So it feels like, for the most part, at least relative to other seasons, like that can kind of go out the window with this like trio of finalists. And I think, I don't know, like maybe Valentina. I don't know, people like were concerned about Valentina's jury management throughout the season, but as a viewer, it doesn't seem like she's got every friend in the world on the jury. So I mean, she's a pretty like, not divisive person, but like I'm sure she split opinion on your season. So is there any like was there more jury management or beef at play than maybe meets the eye, or no?
Ben, you could correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but I feel like the person that actually did have some people pretty pissed off with him was Zach. Like, I think Skylar and Preston were upset with him, like that group. Not crazy beef or anything, but I want to say they had some strong words for him, like in Final Tribal and the reunion show. Valentina, I don't remember her blatantly like upsetting anyone really. I think she was pretty likable. She was definitely like a big personality and talkative, but Ben, I don't know. I don't think, maybe we're a little biased because we were in her alliance, but I don't remember her upsetting too many people.
Yeah, I agree. I think she like definitely ruffles feathers because that's who Valentina is, and she's gonna say what she wants. But I think that's like the draw of her as well. And yeah, it worked for me. But I think I also agree with Phelan and how I think Zach flipping with us, that really burnt some bridges at the beginning. And I'm not sure if people hold the grudges on that, but yeah, I think there wasn't as huge beef that people carried. I think throughout this, I think people were pretty mature in terms of like how they handled leaving the game.
And one more thing on that front, like I've heard about Valentina's like rapport with a lot of the jury members for like a couple episodes now, and was that more of a threat to like the idea of having someone in a finale with you, or was having someone like Zach who made one distinct play, was a bit of a challenge threat towards the end of the season, especially, like was that more of a concern with if you were to sit next to them? It's just like which attribute was more threatening in terms of, you know, trying to figure out who you want to sit next to?
I will say that it was really hard for me genuinely throughout this entire game to think that I saw a really good path for Zach to win. Like, I was like, for sure it's one of us. And I really, really wanted that. And I think that I always talk and then I forget the question and then at hand, and if you could let me know one more time.
Essentially just was Valentina's like rapport with the jury, or
Okay.
Zach's like challenge threat and like, you know, having on his resume, like was that which one of those was more threatening to sit next to? Obviously you two were like threats A and B. I'm not exactly sure which one, but you obviously are not just trying to eliminate the other one. You also have to think about who else you want to get out and sit next to. Ideally you sit next to two people that you can beat easily, but it seems like that wasn't ever going to be the case with the sort of final 5 or 6 that were left in this season. So I was just wondering, like, which one seemed more threatening at the time when you were trying to figure out who to sit next to, like Valentina's jury management or Zach's stuff?
I guess I'd say Valentina's, like, the way she handles the jury management. I know she like specifically voted like with Zach when he was voted out so that she didn't cause any harm there. So that was like a really good play on her. And yeah, so I guess that scared me more than Zach.
Yeah, I would agree with that, like super briefly. I think that maybe Zach's actual resume was overshadowed by the kind of, like we said, like all over the place game he was playing. So I think in my mind, I viewed his game as like very scattered and not well like put together. So I thought if I were sitting on the jury, I was like, oh, to me it looks like Valentina's had a way stronger like thought out strategy and plan. And so even though like you look at it on paper, Zach started absolutely, you know, crushing some of those last challenges and having those, he did have some of those sneaky votes where he purposefully like voted wrong, but you know, in order to not piss off the person that he knew was actually getting voted out. Those little moves. So yeah, I think on the face of it, Valentina was more threatening.
Speaking of Zach again, if you knew, or at least knew kind of Zach's strategies or gameplay when he approached you guys to work with you, what do you think you would have done differently?
I mean, I don't know what I necessarily would have done differently. I think I would have tried to keep him closer to our alliance, I guess, maybe, like, with the mentality of keep your friends and your enemies closer. Like I said, I think a lot of us underestimated his strategy, so we thought leaving him on the outs of votes and not, I know me personally, like, I would talk to him, but I definitely talked to Jake more. So I think for my personal game, I would have tried to solidify an alliance with him more, if only to get more information out of him and figure out his strategy.
Yeah, I'd say I'd second that. I think at the beginning of the merge, when we started working with him, I let Jake do all the talking, and that was more of a fault of mine because I was like, Jake is close with him. I don't need to right now solidify anything because if he works with us, I was just like trying to figure out whether or not he was going to. So, and then I guess, yeah, I just let Jake do all the work with that one at the beginning.
Speaking of Jake, obviously last episode, or maybe it was 2 episodes ago, you guys gave Jake the big boo, and it was kind of surprising because like at this point there'd been the pattern going, and I think on the recap show right after that we kind of talked about, we were trying to figure out why. We were like, why Jake? Like it just didn't make a ton of, it just felt super random. And I think we came to the conclusion that like Jake and Valentino were really close somehow, for it was kind of random, but they were close, and then like maybe getting rid of Jake would make Valentina closer to like Phelan and Kato, which would like make your guys' alliance stronger because he was closest to Zach, like, and Zach was at the bottom. Do you guys see what I mean? Sorry, I'm like actually really rambling about that, but can I just like hear from your perspective why you did that? Because I know Ben, you and Kato were like, that was the dumbest move we ever could have done, why did we do that, like ranting in the car about it. And I don't know, it was, if you could just talk about that. I just don't even have comments because I don't know why you did it, honestly. It was just like, didn't make sense.
I can start because I think watching back this episode, I literally forgot we did that. I was watching and I was like, oh my gosh, no way. But I think it was because it all happened so fast in that 30 minutes. But I think, like, I was really trying to think back, a lot of those conversations were very whispery and like on the side. So I think the filming didn't really capture the extent of the strategy that was talked. So I would say it was definitely a more complex situation than it reads on the episode. But I think, at least for me, I would totally agree with the comment that I knew Jake and Valentina were close. But then I think our other concern was like, with there being still so many duos in the game, there was like the potential for those two boys to kind of turn the narrative and like start really working together. And I think right before Jake went home, Zach or Jake made the comment like, we need to really start working together now instead of playing our own separate games. And so I think there was just the like, you know, get killed or kill, like we wanted to solidify our 2 duos, I think, like with Ben and Kata, me and Valentina. So we just got stressed out and we're like, we need to split another one up. And it probably wasn't the most cohesive decision, but that was the thinking at the time.
Yeah, I specifically remember that one since it was just a block of 30 minutes and just do whatever, figure out what you're going to do. That was, it really went to the wire. Like, it's obvious, like in my, I don't know, we went off on our little interviews mid-challenge, and then I was like, I'm like voting for Johnny. And like, obviously I had no idea at that point, like what was going to happen. I think it like genuinely, like the minute of, or however long, it just came down to the wire. So I think my thought process was, yeah, I think I wanted to keep the, like, for Kata, me, Phelan, Valentina the strongest. Like, I wanted to be controlling this game. And if Zach and Jake got any farther together, I think, yeah, Phelan's right. Their narrative could have changed to something that I didn't like. And I felt good about where the four of us were. And if we got essentially one of those four boys out, I think we would have had a stronger path to the end like we did. So I think it worked. I know I said it was like a worst idea, but I think it played in my favor in the long run because I didn't have to worry about them being closer. Zach then also had to get closer with us because he had nowhere else to turn. Because if Jake was still there, he would have had other options than just working with us. And I think that was super important for our game as well.
Different question, sort of. What, and it has to be something from before this episode. So something before the challenge and Johnny vote and all that. What was each of your biggest regrets from the season?
I'll go first. So can I give like a two thing?
Of course.
Okay. I think to start early on, I'm not sure how this would have played out, but I would have loved to work with Emma. I think she was really awesome, and I was just like tribe mentality, keep the numbers. So if I wasn't so much like that, I think I don't know if we would have worked together if it would have backstabbed me, but like I think she's an amazing person. She's also in my major, so like we became close after the fact, but she's awesome and I would have loved to work with her. But also, yeah, actually that's my biggest regret. Yeah.
You kind of stole mine, but like for a different reason. I think my regret also was not working with Emma because when we went into this, we didn't know the theme was like double trouble, and like whether intentionally or not, everyone kind of had a little duo that they were, you know, in the same major, in the same club, or in the same fraternity. And I remember being really conflicted about who my duo was supposed to be because Valentina was in Phi Sig, yes, but so was Emma. And we were actually closer in real life than me and Valentina. And I think I hooked your horse to the wrong carriage or something. Like I think if I played with Emma, there was a chance because I don't know who she had allies, but I don't know who her duo would have necessarily been had it come down to like the final six where it's, you know, twos. I think I could have had a closer tie with her and avoided I just had no way of knowing that Valentina and Kato were, as you know, the freshman year day one friends. But my actual biggest regret is voting out Ben. So
it's actually funny that you guys mentioned that. This isn't even a question, it's just like a tangent. Like we've talked about that in so many recap shows, how like somehow I really don't think it was purposeful, the casting, like that you guys all knew each other, because it was like Skylar and Preston knew each other, and Jake and Zach are best friends, and like Phelan and Valentina and Emma, whatever. I don't think that was on purpose for the theme. That'd be really cool and like snaps if it was, but it just definitely was not. And then also the Emma thing, we were talking about it during the Superlatives episode, how everyone voted Emma like deserves to still be here. And it's funny because she seemed to be a victim of, like Ben said, like the tribe mentality thing, and not actually voted out for like, I think Preston was trying to be like, she's a threat, but like doesn't, like you don't actually know who a threat is until you like get into the thick of the game. Like you're kind of just guessing because like she's chatty and stuff. But I don't know. I just thought that was interesting that you guys kept bringing that up because it is facts.
I feel like she could have been a victim later down the line of like the person that's playing too hard and is scary, because she was so into it. Like she had so much fun vlog footage that like I don't even know, half of it probably didn't make it, but like she was so into it. So I guess now looking back on that, she could have down the line been perceived actually as a threat, because I do think she would have been. But yeah, R.I.P. my girl.
I think it was her vote out episode. The vlogs are so funny because like Queen has no idea she's going home, like just actually no idea. And I think she had her last one is like, yeah, I just got back from Michael's, like made my fake idol, and then gets like booted. I felt so bad. It was horrible. It was hard to watch, honestly.
I have a question about the superlatives challenge because you guys both sort of got like answers that for one way or another could like throw a target on your back. Mainly Ben. Ben, you got, there was a couple that you got, but I thought the one that was like, if I got it, I'd be like, shit, this is horrible, was best liar. And you might have gotten one of the ones that was like would win if it ended today, or like biggest threats, something like that. Did that like, and I forget exactly which one, Phelan, but I know you got one that was like complimentary, which can sometimes be bad for that.
Take home to your parents, like who would you want? And Phelan won it. Yeah, I remember that. Like
you won two though. She won two.
I can actually pull it up. Nick
I think me and Ben tied for Dark Horse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. Okay. What like did you guys feel the need to like manage a threat level yourselves? I mean, I know you guys were aware that you guys were already big threats, but like certainly the best liar thing, the alarm bells would be going off if I got that. I'd be like, oh my god, I have to completely.
Yeah, honestly, that didn't faze me too much, just because it was true. Like I wouldn't say lying to people because I guess I was, and then they would continue to tell me stuff. So it's not like they really saw anything different. Like Graham specifically, like I think he's the person I really just used and like to my advantage, because like Johnny wouldn't tell me stuff, but Graham, and I feel so bad. Like I guess another regret. Like he's the sweetest kid, and I would just get everything out of him, and then tell my alliance. Like, so I guess it didn't affect me at all in the time right there, because the people I was with, it wasn't affecting them poorly. It was only affecting the people that I guess I was working against. So I just used it to my advantage, and I wasn't scared about it at all, thankfully.
Fair. The last episode there was a tough to watch moment, I'll just put it that way, where Graham, I think, realizes that he just completely screwed up his game by just trying to like propose, which by the way is even really for anyone is not the best thing to just sort of throw out there when there's a plan in place, like right before a vote. But like when he explained the response he got from you, where you're just like, oh yeah, sure, who?
I know, I wasn't gonna like, my thing with him, I just wanted him to like tell me the stuff, because I was never going to like out myself as something really trying to work with him. But I think, yeah, he helped my game, and he was really, really awesome and sweet. Yeah, I have more to say about Graham, but I can talk about it later.
It was funny because I think the message he sent afterwards was like, I think I might have just like messed up my game by telling you that. And then I think about 30 minutes later is when he got voted out officially from Survivor. So
I feel so bad for Graham. Sorry, I just like feel the need to bring that up. Like he literally, that episode that he got voted out, at the beginning, he was like, I'm feeling good, like I'm flying high. I was like, I'm back.
Challenge rocked, like I loved it.
It was super fun, and it just like the whole season, this kid is being like, I'm so naive. Everything people tell me, I believe them, and I don't know. I feel so bad, especially you guys. No offense, this isn't a dig or anything, but he's like everything Phelan tells me, I believe it, and she's always lying to me. And I was like, oh my god, my poor king. Like justice for Graham, actually, justice for him. It's so sad.
I remember, so like, because we did live on the same floor in booth, so we'd see each other a lot, like all the time. And I remember him telling me one day, like in the elevator, I think this was clipped in or something, but he was just like, you literally keep lying to me. And in my head, I was like, no, I'm not. Like, because I remember I would be honest with him up to a point where we were like, oh, we just have to tell Graham this is how we're voting. And in my head, maybe that's a character point on me, but I didn't really see that I was lying to him. But I like, we are still friends after Survivor, and I just remember talking to him like, I am so sorry for like scheming as much as I did, and I really did like working with him. But it just sucked that he ended up on the bottom of that alliance. And I remember that clip where Andrew goes like, so you were on the bottom of the tribe last week, and he meant to say like you were in the majority, and I remember Graham got so nervous that we all thought he was like on the bottom. But yeah, those vlogs are a little tough to watch, I'll be honest, where he's like, I think Phelan's really telling me the truth this time.
No, I think there was points where he was talking about how he would flip and vote with Noir. Was there ever a point where you would tell him that you were gonna vote somebody and it was the actual answer?
I feel like no, but I kept telling, the thing I was consistently honest about was that I wasn't gonna vote for him, and and it's a little confusing watching back. I don't think I voted for Graham.
You didn't.
Yeah, and I remember telling him from the beginning, I was like, I'm not gonna vote. I'm not gonna write your name down. And he like never believed me on that. And I would be truthful with him when I said like, look, it's not you going home, or hey, your name is getting brought up, which I think most people wouldn't bring his name up to me because they figured we were kind of close. But yeah, I remember standing pretty firm on that ground of like, I'm not gonna vote your name down. So that was the one true thing I guess I was telling him.
I kind of have a question about that because in, gosh, I can't remember who went home where they played the idol on the wrong person. It was Andrew, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Andrew, yeah.
Because in Graham's vlog from like the start of the next episode, Phelan, he's like, oh, Phelan told me it wasn't me, and I believed it, and then they just guessed wrong. Was that like, did you like realize at the time, like when the idol was getting played, were you like, oh shit, like I might have just like, you know, messed this up? Or was it kind of just like, you know, if they get the idol, it's still fine, like you weren't really in harm's way right then, so it would have been fine at the time?
Yeah, I think I didn't ever think they were gonna play it for Graham. I think it wasn't I think our mentality wasn't like, oh, they have to pick between 3 people to play an idol on, and now they only have to pick between 2, so their chances got higher. I think Graham always seemed to be the only one thinking he was consistently getting voted out. So like King was paranoid.
So many times he was in, especially I remember in that episode, he'd be like, I really think the votes are on me today. And like no one would have even like said his name for the last like 2 episodes. Like he was just like so convinced it was him when no one was talking about him.
Yeah, I do. Like that's why I think I kept trying to convince him like, don't worry, it's not you. But also correct me if I'm wrong, Ben, didn't you tell him that it was gonna be Andrew?
Yeah, my thing is like I knew that. I think we were at such a point in the game where we were like, anything we tell Graham, they're gonna think the opposite. So like low-key at that point, we were both telling him, it's not you, it's Andrew. So he's like, it can't be Andrew, it's gonna be me. So we were just kind of, at that point, we were really messing with his head, and like that, I can see how he's just not gonna understand, like where you're getting 2 different things for people who you think or you can trust. And like, I'd say like, yeah, that I forgot that happened, but that definitely did happen.
That's actually funny because I think not only did you tell someone that it was Andrew, Zach knew that it was Andrew, and Zach also told all of them that it was Andrew. So this was from like multiple sources, and they still played it wrong. So I don't know. I guess that speaks more to you guys than it does to them. But I mean, you guys made it further than they did, so kudos, it worked.
Any other comments? Awesome. That's great.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. This was probably our most insightful post show. I feel like a lot of stuff was I was gonna like think of a metaphor. I don't know. A lot of stuff I didn't know, but now I know now because you guys told it to me. So thank you for answering all of our questions. This was so awesome.
Thanks for doing this, bringing it back. It's been 2 years. That's really awesome.
Yeah, a little reunion.
So true.
Miss you, girl. Congrats on graduating.
Oh, thank you.
Are you all still at Syracuse?
Yeah.
That's lit.
Super
Most of us are close to done.
Sure.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Oh yeah, Ben, you haven't met them actually in person.
No,
Really.
crazy.
It's weird because like we know like so much. We feel like we know you, Ben, and you
Yeah.
have no idea who we are at all.
It's weird. The post shows are super weird for that. We're talking to Andrew, and I'm like, why isn't he talking to me like he knows me? Like, this is so awkward. But I'm
Yeah.
like, King has never met me in his life. Like, he has no idea who I am. It's super weird. But
But thank you guys for joining. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
thanks.